Okay, we are live, so let's bring in the intro.
This is Radio Free Pro Wrestling, your home for smart and stunning wrestling debates with lifelong wrestling fans Shawn and Ashlee. Let the debate begin.
Well, hello, and welcome to another episode of Radio Free Professional Wrestling. It is I, Shawn, along with my tag team partner, Ashlee. And this week, we have a lot of stuff to talk about, but we're going to mainly focus on what happened on Friday Night SmackDown, as apparently The Rock has come out. He's joined the Bloodline. And Ashlee, has he kind of made Roman a junior partner just by appearing on that episode of SmackDown in Salt Lake City?
I will say I don't think I would go that far just yet. I feel like they kind of have either a plan with this, whether this is kind of the way to get The Rock to turn on Roman, like this is like some sort of setup, or whether maybe he tries to take Roman's spot as the leader of the Bloodline. I think either way, they're going to turn it into some sort of storyline, so I'm not particularly worried about it. I think Roman has been built up too strong to immediately just be, like, pushed to the back like that.
Well, let's just go over to the 76 questions, and I'll lay my case out for why I titled this show, Has The Rock Taken Over the Bloodline?
Time to ring the bell as Shawn and Ashlee debate 6 stunning questions from the week of wrestling. All the whys. And what the hell was that?
Okay, so first stunning question for you, Ashlee. Has Roman become a junior partner in his own stable with the arrival of The Rock in the Bloodline? Now, my reasoning for this question, if you watch that clip of the end of SmackDown on Friday night, you have Roman, Paul Heyman, and Jimmy Uso walk down the ring with the Bloodline music, and Roman does his typical acknowledge me introduction. Then he sounds like the younger cousin to The Rock as he's talking about, hey, just wait till The Rock comes out here. You guys are going to go crazy for all these little catchphrases, but we got some important information for you guys to understand. Does that, and the fact that The Rock comes out separately, maybe pause and think, is Roman going to be the junior partner in this partnership as we go forward to WrestleMania and possibly a tag team match between Cody and Seth Rollins on one side and Rock and Roman on the other side on night 1. Then we get the title matches on night 2. So, am I crazy?
No, I think they could definitely do like a power struggle thing. Especially kind of like with what was perceived as The Rock kind of muscling in on, like, say, Cody's territory. They could use it in the storyline as him muscling into Roman's territory.
Well, that's true. And this is just one footstep forward in the progress of this story as we're going to WrestleMania. And I may be overthinking this a little too much, but time will tell. Now, the one thing else I was worrying about this was Cody on Monday Night Raw said, Rock, you punched me in the face. I'm going to punch you back. Cody, he was on SmackDown. Why didn't you and Seth invade and come through the crowd and jump them then?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure why they're not. I feel like they're not doing Cody a lot of favors with the kind of turnaround they've been trying to do with this. I know regardless he's super over, so it's not going to matter. But they had him just give up his spot. He kind of is. He got smacked down at the at the press conference thing. Like you said, he doesn't even go and get revenge for being attacked. He's got to like have some sort of like breaking point, you know, like not even like turn heel, but just be like, enough's enough.
Yeah, I know. Like, there's a point where you got to go beat Adam Pearce, beat Nick Aldis. I'm just gonna go out here and get a pound of flesh. Okay, I got wronged so much by the bloodline, and I can't take it no more. Let's like Popeye, like open a freaking can of Spanish, Cody, and go ahead.
Yeah, I mean he's gonna need to, and I, I I want them to kind of be able to pull this off, but I want there to be like a very good reason why Cody gave up his spot in the first place. It's they have some work to do with it, but I could see them pulling this off and it being very compelling. And then, like I said last week, I mean, you could even build to Rock and Roman even next year, and kind of have maybe The Rock be involved in this bloodline storyline a little more and have like the power struggle thing going. But I want them to start making Cody look a little stronger and a little smarter here.
See, that's the issue when you bring The Rock back into a storyline. This dude is so charismatic, so beloved by all us wrestling fans. He is a level above anybody in the WWE, even somebody who's been a world champion for 1,200 plus days.
It is true, and it's kind of it is kind of why they brought him in, you know, like they knew they were going to get the views, the eyes, the purchases, you know, people tuning in for WrestleMania. But I don't know, you know, it's a tough call. It's more of a business decision than a storyline decision. So
Yeah, I feel like we got a choose your own adventure, and the way it's going right now, Rock just to tear up one page and like, oh hey, insert The Rock into the story.
yeah, it does kind of feel like that. But like I said, they seem to understand that that wasn't the correct call. They've pivoted at least a little bit. So now they all they have to do is kind of like retcon some like decent reasoning for some stuff. Maybe get Seth away from this, and let Seth focus on his championship and who he's gonna face instead of kind of being Cody's backup in this. And I would love to see more of it. But like I said, I just want to see some good reasoning. This is a very story heavy, storyline going into this. So I want to see some good reasoning coming out of this, so it's not so like plot hole-ish.
True. And speaking of Seth Rollins, Cody, this is the dude that wrestled 2 matches with you like a year ago, and basically was trying to get you out of the company, and now he wants to be your partner. Hang on a second, time out here. Let me think about that one. I'm kind of with Cody, not saying, okay, Seth, yeah, you can be my shield. Let me think about that one.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I don't know if maybe they're doing this because of Seth's injury and maybe not being sure right now as to whether they can put him into something a little more solid. Um, but I don't think it's doing him or that championship any favors as he's kind of playing like backup for Cody going after another championship.
And well, next week we should know who's going to challenge Seth for the secondary world title after Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, I know. We'll have our answer soon, like you said. So hopefully after Chamber we can get back to focusing a little more on the world championship of that brand.
True. Well, we'll table this until next week on Radio Free Professional Wrestling. So let's go to stunning question number 2. And we've been pounding the desk for a month for this lady to finally get the All Elite graphic saying that she was signed with AEW. And Queen Aniana got that graphic Friday night on Rampage. She had one heck of a match with Anna Jay, and I was torn because I really like Anna Jay, but Queen Aniana is freaking good. So bravo, and I'm happy that she is signed with All Elite Wrestling.
Yeah, obviously a great signing, and they can already tell what they have in her, giving her so much time already.
I mean, between all the matches we've seen on Collision, Rampage, and Dynamite. She's also in this Ring of Honor TV title tournament. And we're thinking about what's the ceiling for Queen Adriana. I can see her being TBS champion, but this tournament for Ring of Honor TV title for the women, she has to be the odds-on favorite to win that sucker.
Yeah, like kind of we were discussing before we went on. I would love to see her and like Billy Starks in the finals. I think those two, either one, could be kind of like a favorite in this tournament. She has been fantastic, and even the promo. If you've seen it, she did a sit-down interview that's about 10-12 minutes long with Renee Paquette the other day, and that was amazing too. Her life story is insane, and it's very cool to see she is the first African-born women's wrestler signed to a major wrestling promotion.
Exactly. I'm going to hunt that clip down and I'll put it into the show notes so you guys can have a chance to look at that. It's a very excellent interview and it lasts about 12 minutes. And it gives you such a great backstory that you have to love this lady.
Oh yeah, immediate like just she's going to be super over as a big baby face.
Oh, yes, yes. I got a feeling that when we get back around for the Winston's in about 11 months or so, I may have my Rising Star of 2024 already picked. So let's go to our third standing question of the week. As we're nearing the end of Okada's run in New Japan Pro Wrestling, we had a great match with Tanahashi a week ago. But we also found out that the last two matches that Okada's going to have are tag team matches. Come out here on the 24th and the 25th of February. Ashley, if you could book Okada one more singles match, who would you pick?
Ooh. That's tough. Like, would I want to book him against somebody he has like a ton of history with, or would I want to book him against somebody like very self-free? Like, I want to see like Kosai Fujita.
Well, I got two options that popped up in the top of my head. You want me to go first here? I'll give you my two picks.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, one is Zack Sabre Jr., as apparently he's going after the New Japan Pro Wrestling heavyweight title. Why not have Zack Sabre Jr. beat him on the way out? And my other person is somebody who just defeated Will Ospreay last week in Japan, and I'm talking about David Finlay.
Yeah, I could definitely see David Finlay, especially because with that huge win in that cage match, obviously they're going to be pushing him as a top heel. So definitely, but I think I would like the Zack Sabre Jr. a little bit.
Well, you know what? I got to think about this. If Okada wants to do these two tag team matches, he's done so much for New Japan Pro Wrestling. There's no reason for any of us to be annoyed about it. We should celebrate that he has two more matches in New Japan Pro Wrestling before he comes stateside, and he clearly is going to be all elite.
Yeah. It's still crazy, honestly.
I know what you mean, because I never thought in my life I would be living in a world where Kazuchika Okada would not be New Japan Pro Wrestling for life.
This year is nuts.
Well, let's move on to our fourth standing question of the week. How worried should AEW be about their live attendance for Collision, Dynamite, and Rampage? Because lately, they have not been where they were a couple years ago, even though we're heading into AEW Revolution over here in Greensboro, North Carolina, and that sucker is selling like hotcakes.
I can't say. I know Tony Khan did an interview the other day where he basically said he didn't care if he operated at a loss. So I'm not sure if he's particularly all that worried. But I do know they have also hired a few like backstage hands in different positions to help with things like the the areas they're booking the venues at. I know they've hired some bigger names and maybe the past few months to kind of help with with where they're marketing, where their shows are at, promoting to the right markets. It's why we've seen a lot more of the AEW wrestlers out promoting the shows on like the news and like local things like that. So I mean, I feel like they're at least trying to do what they need to do to turn it around. So I think we might have to at least give that a little bit of time to see if that helps. And I know, obviously, the signings of somebody like Mercedes Moné and Kazuchika Okada are intended to help things like this as well. So we'll have to see if it sticks.
Well, they had a hot run there for a while when they first came out, because every company has a hot run when they first come out, because they're the new kids on the block. Everybody's going to check them out. And we're 4 years in now, so the honeymoon period is over. Now they're trying to reestablish that mojo that they had the first 2 years. And lately, on like Collision and Dynamite, the last 2 weeks, it feels like they got that matchup formula back where those shows don't have a weak match. Now, this past AEW Dynamite may had 1 weak match in it, and you probably know which one I'm talking about. But the rest of them were freaking bangers.
Yeah, no, Dynamite was very good, and a lot of like storyline progression stuff going on this week. So like I said, I feel like they're doing what they can. I know like stuff like they're doing, like when they promote shows like Big Business, like even just that helps so much. AEW will sometimes wait to the last minute to give the audience like a lineup for a show. And I know like in this time when a lot of things are super expensive to begin with, like people are going to be a lot more cautious with the money they're spending. So if you don't put out a card and give somebody something to get excited over, they're probably not going to want to spend the money to go out there to kind of hope they get a good card or see the wrestlers they want to see. Put the matches out there, float the storylines out there, kind of get people excited about what's going to come, and then that way they have an idea of who's going to be on the show. It's not like all up to chance.
Exactly. Who wants to spend like say $150 for a set of 4 tickets, and you don't know exactly who's going to be the main event? Are you going to see Samoa Joe in a AEW World Title match? Those simple little things, and another thing I would suggest AEW do for this a little bit is select maybe just instead of the large arenas, go to the secondary arenas. If you get like 4 or 5,000 people in the size of a state arena that holds 6 or 7, it looks fuller than it does when you go to a basketball arena that holds like 15 to 18,000 people.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I know that I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but they just hired somebody who was like a big name in that market for like I can't remember if he was with WWE before, but he I guess that's the main hire that they've had to help them find like the right venues and the right sizing. So they have run a few smaller venues recently, so I think maybe that's kind of been the change.
Well, we'll just keep our eyes on it as we're going through the spring here and watching AEW TV as we head to AEW Revolution, which has already sold over 10,000 freaking tickets. And literally on Rampage, they were announcing, hey, we're opening up another section of the tickets. And like, hey, they're probably going to go fast. And anybody who's going to like Revolution, can you send us anyone a ticket? That'd be kind of nice. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Yeah, and even like I said, even like Big Business, like everyone kind of knows what's happening. We've already kind of got an idea of what's going on for that show. And the pre-sales did great. The regular sales since they've gone on sale have been fantastic. They're almost sold out.
Yes, March is going to be a very pivotal month for AEW. I feel like if everything falls the way they're thinking it's going to fall, it could kickstart them into another good run. And we'll just have our fingers crossed.
Let's hope.
Okay, so we're going to our 5th standing question. Now, this question came up because on Rampage, we saw Sammy Guevara versus Jeff Hardy. And there's a lot of stuff going around the internet with clips showing that Sammy kind of missed his move on the finisher, nailing Jeff in the head with his knee. And my question was, does AEW miss having Dark and Elevation where people can have reps? Because they don't have a performance center. And actually, my feeling is Sammy could nail this move probably 19 out of the 20 times. He just unluckily got the 20th one to come up in this match on Rampage.
Yeah, it was not good. And from what I read, thankfully Jeff didn't get a concussion. It was a broken nose. So I mean, hopefully he can heal up, because the match was going really well up until that point. I do think Dark and Dark Elevation are missed for those reasons. I mean, Sammy Guevara wasn't featured much on those to begin with, but it would have been a good place for him to come back when he came back from injury or something like that. Um, it's unfortunate, but I feel like people really ran with this one because I feel like there's a pretty big dislike for Sammy Guevara to begin with. Um, just an unfortunate accident. But like you said, I do think Dark and Dark Elevation did help with these things. They help build the reps, they help build momentum, they help build up like the storylines and lore for people. So it's something I think maybe I know it's tough with them having like the WB contracts and not being allowed to do it, but I think it's something maybe Tony Khan should maybe have a conversation about.
Or if even if they couldn't do like Dark Elevation and Dark, maybe pair up with like a Rev Pro, pair up with like game changing wrestling, where you could send people out to get reps during like their downtime from AEW, and you just shuttle people in and out. Because we've been, what's the other complaint we have about AEW is like they have a bloated roster of amazing talents, and we don't see all the talents all the time. This way, you can cycle them in and out and have people come in and out, and maybe things like Friday Night on Rampage could be avoided, but it's kind of hard to avoid those because they're high risk moves. There's a reason why they come high risk moves.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just super unfortunate. I hope both guys are okay, because I know like Sammy didn't take that easily. Jeff Hardy is his hero. Like even his gear on Friday night was very reminiscent of the original like Hardy Boys. His armbands and stuff like that. So it sucks, but like you said, it's a high risk move, and accidents happen. I'm not exactly sure what was done exactly wrong. I'm not in the ring myself, so I don't exactly understand what went wrong, but it could have happened to anybody.
Very true. We're going to leave that there. We're moving on to our sixth and final stunning question of the week. And that's going to be, should the WWE leave Logan Paul matches for PLEs? Now, I was watching Friday Night SmackDown, and he was in a match versus The Miz for the winner to go to the Elimination Chamber. And I got to say, it was my least favorite Logan Paul match I have seen. And I got a feeling that Logan Paul's probably only handled about like maybe 10 matches in the WWE, and most of them have been on premium live events. And for a part-time celebrity professional wrestler, he's dang good. I just worry that if the WWE keeps him on regular TV, he might get exposed.
That's a possibility. I would say I think it just depends on how seriously he's into this. We know he still does like content creation, and he has a lot of endeavors outside of wrestling. If he's looking to actually have a run, work with him. He obviously has tools, and he has at least the basic abilities, and there's something there, so you could definitely grow him into something. But if he's kind of just like, hey, I'm gonna come around and maybe have a couple of matches, I would definitely kind of keep him to the PLEs.
Very true. You know what? Eventually, he's going to have a substantive match to what we've seen so far, and maybe on Friday night he just had an off night, and him and the Miz just didn't click.
That could be too. Especially like when you're working with a newer opponent, when you're newer yourself, timing might not be there and everything. So maybe they could do, if he's working like house shows and stuff, maybe if they run a couple of house shows together, they could kind of run it back in a few weeks and have a little bit better chemistry.
Very true. That has been our Stunning Six questions here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling for February the 18th, 2024. Let's slide over to the Control Center to catch you on the week in professional wrestling news.
This is your Radio Free Pro Wrestling Control Center. All the wrestling news you need to know.
Okay, so my first news story for you guys this week, we have a new person behind the scenes at AEW. And actually, you're the one that sent me this story. And we're talking about Rocky Romero taking a backstage role at AEW. How do you feel about this?
This may be one of the best, I think, office signings Tony Khan has made. Somebody tweeted the other day that the real Forbidden Door is Rocky Romero, and that seems to be the truth. His ability to get these working relationships and connections going has been absolutely unprecedented for AEW, and even for now, like CMLL and New Japan.
Very true. And I mean, we've been seeing CMLL's relationship with AEW growing here over the last couple of weeks, as we've seen the Blackpool Combat Club battling some of the members of CMLL. And, you know, I feel like Tony needs some people backstage to help him with AEW. I feel like that's another criticism we had with AEW for a while, was like Tony was having the candle lit on both ends. And it seems like now he's getting Danielson, he's getting Rocky Romero. And the next news story I want to tell you is QT Marshall is heading back to AEW for a backstage role as well. So it seems like they're adding people to the backstage here in AEW. So in the coming weeks, maybe Tony Khan will be stepping just a little bit back from all the decision making he's been doing.
Yeah, that was a surprising re-signing too. QT just left about 2 months ago. And then I mean, maybe they worked something out. I know Tony Khan he's always praised QT in his mind for wrestling, so I'm glad they can still have some sort of working relationship. I know like QT's not everybody's favorite, but he is a very smart wrestling, knowledgeable person to have around. So
Very true. I agree with you. He may not be everybody's favorite cup of professional wrestling, but from what you hear and read, he has a mind for professional wrestling. And really, that's what you need to run a national wrestling company. Unlike a certain company north for the border, as I go to my next news story, as several talents from TNA Wrestling decided to group together and send a letter to Anthem Sports Entertainment going, we're concerned about the future of Impact Wrestling, TNA, and we feel that the best option going forward is to have somebody who has a history of professional wrestling leading the way, and no better person than Scott D'Amore. It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks here with Anthem and TNA Wrestling.
yeah, I'm not baffled by the decision, but I am baffled by the decision. I know it's money purposes, but I mean, what are you going to do? The reason it was becoming so popular was Scott D'Amore and all the work he was putting into it. And to see everybody like rallying around him is awesome, because he is the reason that everybody was so excited. He's put so much of himself into TNA, and so much of himself he apparently offered to buy it before he was fired. He wanted to buy the entire promotion to run it. And the wrestlers are I think are absolutely have a right to be concerned. When you put somebody solely in charge of just making money, there is the concern that the quality isn't going to be what's worried about or what's cared about.
Very true. I get a feeling that Anthem sees TNA Impact Wrestling as a cheap programming option that they own. They don't have to pay out money for rights to have it on their Access TV channel. They're going like, we can put in whatever we want to have this 2 hours on Thursday night covered in prime time. If they're happy with what's going on that way in their ad revenue, or little ad revenue they're getting from that, they're not going to be much change for Impact Wrestling. I'm sorry to say it, because I was hoping for this rebrand to be the return of TNA Wrestling to the golden days from like 2005 through 2008-ish, the era where he had AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, Christian Cage.
Yeah, I like I said, even when we did our awards, I named them like I was like saying like everybody should be checking them out. They've been absolutely killing it. And to kind of see everybody just get demoralized like that in like one move was it's absolutely devastating, not only for them because now they're just all in flux. Like they had a system, there was a hierarchy, everybody knew what was going on, everybody kind of had their place, and now like everybody's with all this momentum, you just screwed it up, and it's crazy because the guy wanted a bigger budget.
Imagine he wants to bring in Will Ospreay, Uzuka Okada. I mean, he's the Morley and the actual president, Dorham, they let him go as well this week. Both of them got fired about the same time to bring in the guy who's come in with no experience in professional wrestling. It is, TNA is one step forward, about 8 steps back.
Forever, apparently. Like honestly, if they're not that worried about it, they maybe would have been just better off letting Scott buy it.
Well, then they would have to pay right fees to have Impact Wrestling on their TV. So that's probably the one and only reason they went, sorry, Scott, we don't want that check.
Oh,
So we're going to go to our.
I just hope that this guy at least wants to care about wrestling, even if he maybe doesn't have the experience. At least for their sake.
True. I mean, like, it's a place where a lot of people have employment. They are able to wrestle. And if you see Impact Wrestling close down, that's one less company that these wrestlers can go and earn a paycheck, which is sad.
Exactly.
So we're moving on to my next news story for you guys. TK appeared on the Sports Grind podcast and gave us an update on MJF and Britt Baker's status with AEW. Now, with MJF, Tony Khan basically said that the guy's really injured. There's no timetable for him to come back to AEW. But I think we all kind of got this understanding that MJF re-signed up before the bidding war of 2024.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that there was like literally 4 years of that, and then 2024 came and MJF was hurt and like legitimately had to step out, so we can't even kind of continue with it. I know there was like some rattlings around a few weeks ago that like people had anticipated he already signed a while back, and that's why there wasn't really much going around about it. I definitely understand he probably did, especially with like giving him the belt and the big push and kind of focusing everything on him. It definitely makes sense. So hoping he can just heal up and get back and kind of maybe get some revenge on Adam Cole.
And basically with Britt Baker, you said that Britt was been out with an injury, undisclosed injury, for a good while now, but he feels like she's on her way back. And adding Britt Baker to this AEW Women's division with Mercedes Moné coming into the company here in a few weeks. AEW is finally focusing on the women's division in 2024. Hallelujah.
Yes. I actually didn't even know Britt Baker was injured until that report came out. I genuinely miss Britt Baker, but I am pretty excited for kind of the future of the women's division here. Tony Khan, like I was saying before, between AEW and Ring of Honor this week alone has 10 women's matches booked.
You sent me this tweet like last night, and my response to you was, I feel like we slid into a parallel Earth, and now this is a different Earth than we've been on.
Right, we couldn't get one women's match on All In, and now look at this.
Okay, so my next news story comes from Fightful. They are reporting that Chris Jericho is about to head out on a overseas tour with Fozzy, which will mean he'll be taking some time away from AEW wrestling. And I know Ashley's one of the people that's really happy about this one.
Yeah, I don't hate Chris Jericho, but we definitely need a break from Chris Jericho. We need a Chris Jericho sabbatical because I don't think this like gimmick or this character that he has been since he's sort of gone to a more babyface transition has not been working.
Well, Ashley, this has to be his longest run in professional wrestling since he was in WCW. And that's been about 25 years ago. Remember his WWE run? There was a series of 3 years where he was in WWE that he would take some time off. He would come back again. We need Jericho to go away for just a little bit so we can miss him. And when he comes back, the crowd and us will be happy to see Chris Jericho back again. I just feel like he's got to a point where he's kind of Okada in Japan Pro Wrestling. What else is there for Jericho to do in AEW?
Yeah, no, like I said, I think we just need a break from him. He's kind of been around in these big storylines, and it sucks too because a lot of the storylines that he was involved in have just been they've fallen apart through somebody else being injured. But it's kind of left him in limbo, and it's left a lot of like weird, unsolved, unfinished things, and he's not really getting to finish out anything with anybody. So he's kind of just floating around from spot to spot to spot without finishing any feuds or, tying anything up. And I mean, even the stuff with Sammy, they were teaming up and now they're not really around each other. Just let him go on his tour for a bit. Let Sammy get away from him for a bit and get on his own and start getting his own momentum. And he can come back in a few months and we can see if we can fit him in somewhere a little better.
Exactly. And like I said, how can we miss you if you don't go away for a bit?
Yeah, he's kind of like a top guy that's been featured consistently for months without really being in anything, like I said, too solid. So take him off TV for a bit and let's give Takeshita that spotlight, the man who beat him.
Exactly. I feel like he's been in this feud with the Don Callis family for about 900 years.
Yeah, it's been going on for a while.
Okay, I'm moving on to my next news story, and we're coming up to in a recent interview. Denise Salcedo had an interview with Nick Neff where he shared that he tried to get his release from WWE on a few occasions when they were having nothing for him in creative. His idea was, hey, let me go, like we're saying with Chris Jericho, let the fans miss me for a while, and I'll come back. Which sounds great. I mean, like, this guy is a great professional wrestler. And they were basically leaving him in catering forever and a day and having nothing for him. But then every time he gets ready to have that release from WWE, they go like, hey, we kind of need you for a minute. And they use him for a bit, and they kind of forget about Nate Neff.
Yeah, I said it before and I will say it again, and it goes for me for all companies, WWE, AEW, TNA, New Japan. If somebody asks or requests their release, if there's not like some sort of, hey, okay, let's sit down and talk about this, like, are you upset about, like, your time, like, and something to be figured out there? If you're not going to use them, release them. There's no reason to keep somebody you're not going to use and that doesn't wanna be there under contract.
Very true. And like he said, like he had a plan for he's leaving, but he's saying, "Hey, I just want to disappear. I'll come back to WWE and wrestle again." And you know what? That kind of makes sense. You remember that short run he had in NXT right before he left or got released from WWE finally? That was one of his best runs where he's in NXT battling Braun Breaker for the NXT title.
Yeah. No, he's always been a good talent. It's baffling why WWE never really put him in a bigger prominent position, but it's cool to see him kind of bouncing around now because even if he does go back to WWE at some point, like he's going to bring a whole bunch of other fans with him.
Very true. I mean, like it's been fun to watch him in New Japan Pro Wrestling. And by the way, this Friday, if you want to wake up early, it's Championship Friday for New Japan Pro Wrestling, where they have 5 championship matches on this card. And Nick Nemeth versus David Finlay is one of those matches. And actually, I might try and watch this live again. I don't know yet. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough to watch those New Japan shows live. I usually watch them on the weekend.
Okay, so speaking of New Japan Pro Wrestling, they have announced for their anniversary event that the holder of the NJPW World title will face the holder of the Junior Heavyweight title at their anniversary show, depending on who comes out of this championship Friday with the titles. So we could see Sonata versus El Fantasma, or it could be another combination. But hey, this is kind of cool.
Yeah, no, this is very cool. Kind of get to see maybe a matchup we don't see so often, and to kind of see just two champions in New Japan go at it will be nice. Um, Kind of curious if we're gonna change any titles before this matchup.
True. It's going to be interesting because they have this event come out on Friday, and pairing it with the Okada final couple of matches, I feel like at least 2 titles may change. At least with New Japan Pro Wrestling, they changed a title or 2. If this was AEW Battle of Belts, we would know the answer. It would be 0.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Mm.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that has been your control center for February the 18th, 2024 here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling. We are heading to mine and Ashley's favorite segment of the week. It's our top 5 matches of the week. And I gotta say, I have a feeling that you are on the same wavelength. We're gonna probably have a lot of similar matches.
Yeah, I have a feeling we're gonna have a couple this week.
It's Shawn and Ashley's top 5 matches of the week. As they count down their 5 favourite matches from the past week, did your favourite match make the cut?
Okay, Ashley, do you want to go first or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first. I'm just gonna talk about it quick anyway. Number 5. So
Okay.
my number 5. I chose from Ring of Honor this week. Kiera Hogan taking on Diamante. They have like you said, the Ring of Honor women's television title tournament going on in Ring of Honor, and this was a first round matchup between two women who are kind of solid but not heavily featured women in like AEW on television, but have been kind of more prominently featured in Ring of Honor. So to see them both kind of get this nice spot was pretty cool, and to see Diamante especially get the win was pretty cool. I feel like Kiera Hogan's had a little bit more of a push, so to see the heel Diamante get the win was nice.
Well, you know what? I was happy to see both of these ladies have this match. And oh, by the way, if you have Honor Club, you need to go back and watch this last episode of Ring of Honor. This tournament is freaking awesome. It's almost as good as the Continental Classic. And my favorite match from this past Thursday's episode that didn't make my top 5 matches of the week was Rachel Erling versus Leia Hirsch. That was a fun match. Unfortunately, it got kind of sidetracked with an injury to Rachel Elling's elbow. We want to wish Rachel Elling a speedy recovery. But hey, this is well worth your $9.99 for a Ring of Honor Club right now. Go check this sucker out. Now, my number 5 match of the week came from NXT as my new favorite tag team of 2024, the Wolf Dogs, finally got the NXT tag team titles off D'Angelo and Sachs. It was a fun match, and I know Braun Breaker just signed to SmackDown, so this might be a short title run for the Wolf Dogs, but hey, fun little match. Go check it out.
I say keep them together.
I know, Braun Breaker makes Corbin bearable. I'm like, this guy's a miracle worker. So, Ashley, what is your number 4 match of the week?
All right, so number 4, I went to Rampage, and it was the Young Bucks back in action again, taking on Top Flight. Top Flight just continues to be one of the most insanely talented young tag teams in all of professional wrestling. And this heel turn for the Young Bucks is very strange, but I'm digging the very douchey EVP vibes.
Yeah. It kind of has this entourage feel to it. I gotta say, they are entertaining. I give them that. And they may appear in this list just in a moment. But my number 4 match of the week is from Monday Night Raw. It's Shinsuke Nakamura versus Sami Zayn in the main event of Raw. Shinsuke Nakamura has been in a lot of main events in Raw lately, and the dude does not fail. And Sami Zayn is this freaking awesome. He's playing this underdog, can't get a win character right now. So maybe coming through. Well, he's not in the chamber, so we don't have that. But this guy needs to be somewhere on WrestleMania weekend wrestling somebody. But this match from Raw, you need to go back and watch.
Very good, yeah. And Sami Zayn, exactly. Especially like I said last time, like with all the help he gave the Bloodline storyline and stuff like that, you have to find a spot to reward that guy for all of his work.
Well, you've been talking about this being a tag team match with Cody and Seth versus Roman and Rock. Why don't we make it like a 6-man tag and we toss Sammy on the good guy's side and we give Jimmy a payday with the Rock and Roman?
That could work.
It could work. Yeah, that's another idea going on. So let's go to your number 3 match of the week because this is a good match. I'll tell you what I thought about the ending here just in a second, but go ahead.
All right, so number 3, Adam Copeland and Daniel Garcia, going to a very rare no contest ending in AEW, but due to interference. I really love Adam Copeland working with all these young guys. He's worked with like Griff Garrison, and now Daniel Garcia. I would like to see them go one more time. I feel like both of those guys wouldn't feel like satisfied with that ending. So I'd like to see another one to go, the full length.
See, that's the only thing that brought this match down for me. This is an excellent match until you see Christian and his family walking down and you kind of see how this is going to play out. It's going to be a DQ as Christian is going like, I don't want to wrestle either of these guys, so we're not going to have a number 1 contender. We're just going to kill both of them. But I got a feeling that this is this rank Adam Copeland off for a while, and it's going to be Daniel Garcia getting that title match at Revolution that we've been talking about and wanting for a while as Christian takes out Adam with the Chichero to close that segment on AEW TV.
Yeah, definitely. And I think Daniel Garcia has more than earned a shot at that championship, especially with his work in the Continental Classic.
And as much as Christian has done for that TNT title, it may be time to take that title off of him and give it to Dan Garcia.
I wouldn't complain. I've been waiting for that kid to get some gold for a minute.
Well, my number 3 match was your number 4 match of the week. as those evil EVPs, those public enemies number one of mine, as they took on Top Flight. It was a fun match. They distracted the referee. A low blow finish by the so-called number one contenders. But hey, a win's a win until Revolution when they get Scorpion Death Drop.
I truly wouldn't like. I would not be upset if they lost that match. I kind of want Sting to win his last match on the way out, just because this run for him has been almost perfect.
Well, this match was great. I mean, Top Flight is a good tag team, and them versus the Young Bucks is a fine match. I just wish they let Top Flight have a victory or two here, as we need more teams to the upper level of the main event scene for the tag team division. But I can see. Okay, so what I would have done differently would the first match the EVPs had on Rampage, they had a local tag team. I would literally ran with this and had another local tag team, and all they would do before Revolution is beat local tag teams and claiming like, hey, these are great victories, one after another.
Oh yeah, especially because Matt got on the microphone after and was like, "We're undefeated in 2024" and stuff like that. So yeah, to kind of have him take on a bunch of teams that like people would be online going, "We don't even know who these people are," would have kind of made that way more hilarious.
It would have, and I mean, like, you don't put Top Flight in this position where they're one of these groups that the Jacksons beat on the way to Sting and Darby Allin and maybe getting the AEW Tag Team title.
Yeah, and I felt like Rampage was kind of a weird place for that match, but hey, it gave them their best Rampage ratings in a while, so.
Very true. So, Ashley, we're going to your number 2 match of the week, and I gotta say, this is a good choice.
Yeah, I knew this one was going to be good when it got announced. We've had this FTR and BCC rivalry going on over the past few weeks, so we started off with Dax Harwood and Jon Moxley going one-on-one, and this was just two dudes beating the hell out of each other, kind of giving each other a little smooch here and there, and continuing to beat the hell out of each other. If we can get a couple more matches like this, I would love to see a rematch. I would love to see even Wheeler get like a singles match if we could.
Well, I think it's been reported that Wheeler Yuta is out with an injury, so I don't know when we're going to see him back for the Blackpool Combat Club. But amazing match alert here. This Wednesday on Dynamite, FTR versus Mox and Casanova. You're welcome. I just gave you 48 hours to plan watching wrestling on Wednesday.
Yeah, this is going to be good, and BCC is not messing around. They're just feuding with everybody right now.
Yes, they are. And oh, hey, what? Just take my money. Go ahead, take my money. It would be cool. So
Yeah.
let's go to my number 2 match of the week. I'm going back to Raw. Raw was pretty dang good, and I'm going to go with the New Day and Jey Uso versus Imperium. It was a fine 6-man tag match. You kind of got a feeling where it was going to go with Imperium taking the loss here. As I want to say it was Blue would take the L here, as we're getting Jey Uso versus Gunther for the Intercontinental title Monday night on Raw. Tonight on Raw, if you're watching or listening to this podcast on Monday, you get an Intercontinental match because probably it's your main event. So Gunther might be back on this list next week for me.
Yeah, this he's at what, over 500 days now?
Yep, he's cleared 500 days. He's the longest reigning Intercontinental champion. And I got a feeling that this is going to go past WrestleMania. I don't think Gunther's going to drop this title even at Mania. And honestly, this Jey Uso match we're getting on Monday night was really if I was booking WrestleMania, would have been my Intercontinental title match.
maybe that's the route they'll go then. I like you, I have him just set like a crazy record right now. Like I want to see him have this for I don't know. I don't know when that's the tough thing though, is kind of booking him out of it, but they could do it. They could build somebody up right now and kind of set it for maybe even down the road to Survivor Series or something.
Well, you just signed Braun Breaker to SmackDown, so hey, in the fall they can draft him over to Raw and Breaker versus Gunther for the Intercontinental title at Survivor Series. Book it.
Yeah, that would be good. Let him hit that spear.
Oh, that would be great if he hits the spear on Comfort. It would be amazing. So let's go to your number one match of the week, and it's a freaking trendsetter. I gotta say, it's a trendsetter.
This match, I nuts. Okay, Orange Cassidy and Matt Taven in a Texas death match on Dynamite. I feel like a lot of people that are on my socials were unfamiliar with Matt Taven in a singles capacity, and even I'll admit I was not so up to date on seeing him in singles competition. But this was Matt Taven showing out. This was insane. That dive over the top ropes, I audibly gasped.
Well, Ashley, I'm gonna go ahead and announce that this is also my number one match of the week because Matt Taven channeled his 2018-ish. Don't quote me on that. But if you remember, in the old Ring of Honor era, when they had that nice pay-per-view at Madison Square Garden, Matt Taven was ROH World Champion. He was in the main event. And this was classic Matt Taven. He's the trendsetter. And I love the fact that he turned to Orange Cassidy and said, "My name is Matt Taven." And Orange punched him with the steel chain fist for the Orange Punch. But that was a dang good Texas Death Match. The only thing I would say about that match was they need to stop using the term Texas Death Match so often in AEW. I feel like it's a trope now.
Yeah, you could have just called it a street fight or whatever. I don't think it really had anything to do with that. But yeah, honestly, I think one of the better ones they've had though.
Yeah. This was probably their best Texas Death Match in Texas. So that ends our top five matches, and we're heading over to our preview for Elimination Chamber as it's coming up this Saturday, bright and early for us on the East Coast, Ashley, 5 a.m. My question to you, are you going to join me and be crazy and watch this live?
Probably not. Not live. I can't even watch the New Japan ones live when those are on.
Now, I know our lovely British listeners are going come on, guys, it's once a year or twice a year you guys have to do the early morning rising. We do it all the time, but, we're just spoiled Americans, I guess.
That's true. We are.
Okay, so I'm going to start with the men's elimination chamber match. This is for the opportunity to face Seth Rollins probably on night 2 of WrestleMania. And we have Drew McIntyre versus Randy Orton versus Bobby Lashley versus LA Knight versus Kevin Owens versus Logan Paul. Ashley, out of those gentlemen, who do you think leaves Elimination Chamber in Perth, Australia as the number one contender for Seth Rollins' secondary world title?
I think maybe Drew McIntyre. I feel like he's really been delving into this heel character taunting CM Punk, who they will apparently, I feel like they'll have a feud, but I don't know how much longer CM Punk will be out for. So in the meantime, having him kind of compete with Seth Rollins, who he was also taking shots at after the press conference, could be very good. Um, I don't know. I think he's like the strongest bet, but I wouldn't be
Well, I got a
surprised to see
feeling that,
somebody like Logan Paul weasel it out.
I would have said that if there wasn't Kevin Owens in this match. I got a sneaking feeling that Kevin Owens and Logan Paul are going to cancel each other out, and that sets their feud up for WrestleMania. I'm with you. I feel like Drew McIntyre leaves this as the number one contender, and Drew's going to beat Seth on night 2 of WrestleMania to send Seth off to recovery.
That could definitely work. Kind of let him have like a run, especially kind of like with this. I love all of the shit talking he's been doing on like social media and stuff, and all these promos. Like I'm loving it. I like the side of him, so let him kind of run with it.
And you know what? Drew was the champion during the pandemic era of WWE TV. Let the guy win a world title at WrestleMania with a bunch of people, even though he's going to be quote unquote the heel. Hey, let's go ahead and do this for the guy because it's a thank you for Drew McIntyre leading the way for a very dark time in professional wrestling.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's kind of nice to have him go from being that ultra baby face, not being able to have his reaction, to now he's kind of more of this bitter person, and he gets to have it, but now he's kind of arguably doing this great heel shtick.
Well, we're moving on to the other Elimination Chamber match, as this one is going to receive the title shot with Rhea Ripley if she leaves Perth Australia, defeating Nia Jax for her title. So in this Elimination Chamber match, we have Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and one other person who will be awarded a slot in a last chance battle royal on Monday Night Raw this evening. So we're going to assume that that person doesn't win this, unless you want to pick who wins that battle royal, Ashley. I got a feeling that this is clearly going to be Becky Lynch, Elimination Chamber to lose.
Yeah, I could see that. They've been pushing Stratton really hard. I could see her maybe pulling it off an upset, but like you said, I think Becky Lynch is going to be the person to beat. I'm very curious as to who they're going to slide into the last spot.
I know there's a lot of rumors that they're thinking maybe Jade would be the person they're going to bring into this slot, as she may be the one of the secret entrants into this battle royal tonight on Monday Night Raw. I kind of want to hold that off. I feel like we're at the point where let's have Jade have her big debut at WrestleMania, her first big match at WrestleMania, and that being Bianca Belair.
Yeah, especially after that face off they had, like definitely.
So we're both in agreement that we feel that Becky Lynch is going to win this number one contendership and head to WrestleMania. So let's go ahead and get this match out of the way. Ashley, do you think there's any way Nia Jax can leave Perth, Australia as the new women's world champion and defeat Rhea Ripley in her home country?
I do not. This is going to be Rhea Ripley, hopefully just kind of winning in a dominant fashion.
Do you want to do it over under like 3 minutes?
I would hope under. It would be very cool to see her get like a big squash match in her hometown. I kind of wish they were doing a little bit more with it, to build it up.
True. I wish they would do a little bit more, but I feel like they got this set good. And we know what the real story is. We're just getting past this one step. This is like the preamble to the story of Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania.
Yeah, that seems to be the most logical way to go.
Okay, we're moving on to the next match, as it's for the undisputed tag team championships as Judgment Day, Damian Priest, who still has his Money in the Bank title shot, and his partner Finn Balor versus British Strong Style Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate. Ashley, am I crazy for thinking maybe this is where Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate get the tag team titles, and we see Judgment Day kind of have some issues, and maybe Damian Priest spins off to the singles run?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all. I think there's a very strong possibility they drop the titles here. It would be very cool to see them drop it, and like you said, kind of have this. How long can he hang on to it? Can you hang on past the next one? Like he's going to have to cash it in soon, I would think.
Okay, here's an interesting question that we need to boot down the road one day. Does he need to cash this title shot in before the other men's ladder Money in the Bank ladder match happens? Or does that contract run the length of the pay-per-view? So you can have the men's match at the beginning and he can cash in at the end? Or does he need to cash in before that ladder match?
I don't know. It's almost going to be part of his gimmick if he keeps hanging on to it.
You know, he could come up with a briefcase the day after and go like, now I'm ready to cash in, and Nick Aldis or Adam Pearson go, I'm sorry, the contract's now in void.
I think they should. It's tough to say because the Judgment Day is so over, and I'm not a big fan of like breaking up like the stables, especially like it works. Like they're all, they all have their place. They all have like their function, and it seems to be working well. But I think Damian Priest could use a singles run.
Well, I got a feeling that you may be right, and Judgment Day may leave Perth with the titles, and we just boot this tag team feud to Miz and Truth as we head to WrestleMania season, as we have Awesome Truth versus Damian Priest and Finn Balor for the tag team titles at WrestleMania.
Okay, yeah. I'm pretty excited for that though, because I
Well, that
think
has
they're
been
gonna.
your. I am too. I feel like Elimination Chamber is going to be a good pay-per-view. Now, if you want to watch it live, that's great. But hey, you know what? Get up, eat some breakfast, turn on Peacock, watch the replay, and be entertained.
Yeah, it makes me wonder how long it'll be only running the 4 matches.
Well, those two,
Unless they
you got to think
unless
those
they
two
throw
chamber.
another one.
Well, they could throw another match on, but these chamber matches usually last about 35 to 40 minutes.
That's what I was figuring.
And we got two
maybe.
chamber matches.
Yeah, I was figuring maybe about 40 minutes, maybe even if they're pushing it, maybe an hour or something for one of them.
Well, I can see like the men's match going at least 45 to maybe an hour. That they could probably do that.
I feel like it's a very different way from like a lot of the wrestling pay-per-views we've seen as of late from all the companies. Essentially, it's just an interesting format.
True. I got a feeling that this pay-per-view is going to run probably around 3 hours and 15 minutes. I want to say 3 hours and 15 minutes. That's my guess.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They'll probably be doing like some backstage stuff, setting up some stuff and things like that. So, probably be a nice like raw length, pay-per-view.
Hopefully. We'll see. But that has been your WWE Elimination Chamber preview here on Radio Free Professional Wrestling. And before we go, Ashley, where can we find you on the super information, super highway?
I'm on Twitter, and it's at groovy_ash_.
And you can follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Radio Free PW. If you miss an episode of Radio Free Professional Wrestling, you can go over to our YouTube channel, or you can go to www.radiofreepw.com. And thank you for listening to this episode of Radio Free Professional Wrestling. Until we see you next Sunday for another edition of Radio Free Professional Wrestling. Just remember, this is mine and Ashley's groovy and stunning era, and I'm getting these scissor guns over somehow, some way. Scissor guns up.
Scissor guns up.
Christina here. On behalf of the guys, thanks for listening. Like the show? Do us a favour and share it with a friend. Have a stunning question? Email it to the show at radiofreeprowrestling@gmail.com. Until next time, this has been Radio Free Pro Wrestling. Stay stunningly.